Hello, today's Bible study comes from the book of Luke, chapter 9, verses 28 through 36, and it reads as follows. About 8 days after Jesus said this, he took Peter, John, and James with him and went up onto a mountain to pray. As he was praying, the appearance of his face changed, and his clothes became as bright as a flash of lightning. Two men, Moses and Elijah, appeared in glorious splendor, talking with Jesus. They spoke about his departure, which he was about to bring to fulfillment in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions were very sleepy, but when they became fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men standing with him. As the men were leaving Jesus, Peter said to him, Master, it is good for us to be here. Let us put up three shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. He did not know what he was saying. While he was speaking, a cloud appeared and covered them, and they were afraid. And as they entered the cloud, a voice came from the cloud saying, This is my son, who I am chosen. Listen to him. When the voice had spoken, they found that Jesus was alone. The disciples kept this to themselves and did not tell anyone at that time what they had seen. Now, about 8 days after Jesus had said this, and what he had said to them, he was telling them about people not tasting death, and he had been speaking about his own departure from this world. So, about 8 days after saying that, he took Peter, John, and James with him and went out up to a mountain to pray. Jesus prayed a lot. And as he was praying, his face changed, the appearance of his face changed. And his clothes, the appearance of his clothes changed because they became as bright as a flash of lightning. And two men, and it doesn't say physical, but it says two men, Moses and Elijah, appeared in glorious splendor. And this may have been the way that the disciples were perceiving it or seeing it, but when they appeared in glorious splendor, talking with Jesus, it had to be in a spiritual sense. They spoke about his departure, and when they say departure, Jesus was telling them about his death, that it was going to happen and be fulfilled in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions were very sleepy, but when they became fully awake, when they came to their senses, they saw Jesus' glory, and they saw the two men standing with him. As the men were leaving Jesus, Peter said to him, Master, it is good for us to be here, which it was good. It was good to have friends with you and watching over you as you pray. It was good to have witnesses to testify about what they had seen, but it was really good to have them there so their faith could grow and they could see the power of the Lord working. So, as I said, it was good for them to be here. Let us put up three shelters. One for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. Now, he says that he didn't know what he was saying, but the reason he didn't is because they were sensing and putting man in that physical image, and they weren't in that physical image, and they weren't going to be there. Jesus was going to be there. And while he was speaking, a cloud appeared and covered them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud. Now, and you got to remember, they were up there, and this cloud comes and appeared, and then it covered them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud. So the cloud must have been at a height or a range where they could have walked into it. And a voice came from the cloud saying, This is my son. Now, this is a time when God recognizes and tells people that Jesus is my son. This voice is speaking, and it says, Who I have chosen. Listen to him. Listen to him. Not anybody else. He didn't say anybody else. Listen to him. When the voice is spoken, they found that Jesus was alone. The disciples kept this to themselves and did not tell anyone at that time what they had seen. But it was going to come out. They were going to say something. But just to be there and to see that increased their faith, increased their understanding and knowledge of the power of God and who the Messiah truly is. Amen.